Yamuna Tira Vanashari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। रामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन मैराथन की जय। Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swami Niti Namane. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane. नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशधारिणे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय भगवानेक आसेदम् भगवानेक आसेदम् अग्रात्मात्मनां विभुः आत्मात्मनां विभुः आत्मेच्छानुगतावात्मा आत्मेच्छानुगतावात्मा नानामत्युपलक्षणः नानामत्युपलक्षणः भगवानेक आसेदम् अग्र आत्मात्मनां विभुः आत्मेच्छानुगतावात्मा नानामत्युपलक्षणः भगवानेक आसेदम् अग्र आत्मात्मनां विभुः आत्मेच्छानुगतावात्मा नानामत्युपलक्षणः. Please repeat. भगवान एक आसेदम् अग्र आत्मात्मनां विभुः आत्मेच्छानुगतावात्मा नानामत्युपलक्षणः भगवान एक आसेदम् अग्र आत्मात्मनां विभुः आत्मेच्छानुगतावात्मा नानामत्युपलक्षणः भगवान एक आसेदम् अग्र आत्मात्मनां विभुः आत्मेच्छानुगतावात्मा नानामत्युपलक्षणः. माताजी भगवान एक आसेदम् Agra Atmatmanam Vibhuhu Atmechanugata Vatma Nanamatyupalakshanaha Bhagavaneka Asedam Agra Atmatmanam Vibhuhu Atmechanugata Vatma Nanamatyupalakshanaha Bhagavaneka Asedam Atmechanugata Vatma Nanamatyupalakshanaha Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Ekaha, one without a second. Asa, was there. Idam, this creation. Agre, prior to the creation. Atma, in his own form. Atmanam, of the living entities. Vibhuhu, master. Atma, self. Ichha, desire. Anugatau, being merged in. Atma, self. Nanamati, different vision. Upalakshanaha, symptoms. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The personality of Godhead, the master of all living entities, existed prior to the creation as one without a second. It is by His will only that creation is made possible, and again everything merges in Him. The Supreme Self is symptomized by different names. Purport. The great sage here begins to explain the purpose of the 4 original verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Although they have no access to the Srimad Bhagavatam, the followers of the Mayavad impersonal school sometimes screw out an imaginary explanation of the 4 original verses. But we must accept the actual explanation given herein by Maitreya Muni because he, along with Uddhava, personally heard it directly from the Lord. The first line of the original 4 verses runs, Aham evasam eva gre. The word aham is misinterpreted by the Mayavad school into meanings which no one but the interpreter can understand. Here, aham is explained as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not the individual living entities. Before the creation, there was not only the personality of Godhead, there were no Purusha incarnations and certainly no living entities, nor was there the material energy by which the manifested creation is effected. The Purusha incarnations and all the different energies of the Supreme Lord were merged in Him only. The personality of Godhead is described herein as the master of all other living entities. He is like the sun disk, and the living entities are like the molecules of the sun rays. This existence of the Lord before the creation is confirmed by the Shrutis. Vasudeva va idam agra asit na brahma na cha shankaraha eko vai narayana asit na brahma neshanaha. Because everything that be is an emanation from the personality of Godhead, He always exists alone without a second. He can so exist because He is all perfect and omnipotent. Everything other than Him, including His plenary expansions, the Vishnu Tattvas, is His part and parcel. Before the creation, there was no Karnanavashayi Vishnu, or Garbhodakashayi, or Kshirodakashayi Vishnus. Or was there Brahma nor Shankara. The Vishnu plenary expansion and the living entities, beginning from Brahma, are separated parts and parcels. Although the spiritual existence was there with the Lord, the material existence was dormant in Him. By His will only, the material manifestation is done and undone. The diversity of Vaikuntha Loka is one with the Lord, just as the diversity of soldiers is one and the same as the king. As explained in Bhagavad Gita 9.7, the material creation takes place at intervals by the will of the Lord. And in the periods between dissolution and creation, the living entities and the material energy remain dormant in Him. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Supadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutah Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalitha Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Bhagavan eka asedam agra atmatmanam vibhu atmechhanugatavatma nana matyupalakshanaha. The personality of Godhead, the master of all living entities, existed prior to the creation as one without a second. It is by His will only that creation is made possible, and again everything merges in Him. This Supreme Self is symptomized by different names. So my voice is a little weak, so please forgive me. I have to clear, hopefully I don't cough. Here, this is explanation of the first of the Chaturshloki of the Bhagavatam, 4 verses, which are basically the condensed version of the Srimad Bhagavatam that was heard by Lord Brahma, spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna Himself, at the time of creation. The first verse is Aham evasam evagre nanyad yad sadasat param paschadaham I gotta look at it. Paschadaham etat yad etat cha yo vasishyeta sosmyaham. So the translation is, Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before the creation, when there was nothing but myself. Nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead. And after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead. So, in this verse, Srila Prabhupada primarily addresses the misconception of the impersonalists, Mayavadis, who basically really get hung up on this point of the I, or aham. And just a few days ago, on a flight to San Francisco, I got into a huge argument with the guy sitting next to me on the plane. And he was this white guy who has a Hare Krishna girlfriend. And she's Ukrainian, whatever. And he was like, oh, so anyways, he was kind of asking, he was like, my girlfriend, she's never able to explain the philosophy. I really can't get it from her. It's like, she explains and all she keeps explaining is we do this, we do that. It just sounds like a bunch of rituals. What exactly is your deal? And he's like the spiritual guy, he vegetarian, but not into religion, this kind of type. And so anyways, we get into this conversation, and basically we get to the point, I don't want to get into all the details of how the conversation came up. But he came up with this whole quantum, really hung up in this quantum physics thing, where basically there's, according to him, according to quantum physics, according to him, we create reality. So this was his whole theory. We are the ones who create reality. And I was trying to explain this as completely nonsense. It's so foolish. How can you create reality? Reality exists. So I put this argument, this is how foolish they are. I said, okay, so we're all in this plane. We create reality? Yes. We are the ones who create reality. We are the ones who create everything. I said, so we're all on this plane. So if we collectively think that this plane is now a cruise ship, does it turn into a cruise ship? He said, yes. I couldn't believe it. I was like, really? I was like, with all due respect, you sound like an educated person. But right now you're speaking stupid things that even a kid won't speak. It's like, it's really, really, what you're saying is so ludicrous. That's when I kind of gave up. I was like, he's got no brain. It's like, I said, and then he started explaining. He was like, well, see, what if a hypnotist was over here and hypnotized everybody on this plane? I said, that's why it's called illusion, because hypnosis, it's like, it's different from reality. It's like, why is this so difficult for you to understand? And he's like, no, we create reality. I'm like, oh my God. He's like, he can't get past. It's somehow they can't understand this. And so and he was like, I said, so okay. You're saying there's, according to quantum physics, there's the observer and there's the observed. But it's all one? And he's like, yes, it's all one. I said, but you just said there is the observer and the observed. How is it one? One is influencing the other. One is superior, the other is inferior. He said, both are energy. I said, both are energies. But one is superior energy and the other is inferior energy. And so one is influencing the other. So there are two things, and they are two different things. They're energies, but they're two different things. He couldn't get it. And this is the point Srila Prabhupada is making in the second canto, the verse that Srila Prabhupada is referring to. But here he's saying that the word, in today's purport, the word aham is misrepresented by the Mayavad school into meanings which no one but the interpreter can understand. And in this purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, he says, the impersonalist puts forward the theory that of oneness in the sense that Brahma, also being the same principle of I, because he is an emanation from the I, the absolute truth, is identical with the Lord, the principle of I, and thus there is nothing more than the principle of I as explained in this verse. This is, again, it's because everything is energy, and energy, everything is one. And Prabhupada is writing here, accepting the argument of the impersonalist, it is to be admitted that the Lord is the creator I and that Brahma is the created I. Therefore, there is a difference between the two I's, namely the predominator I and the predominated I. Therefore, there are still two I's, even accepting the argument of the impersonalist. We must carefully note that these two I's are accepted in the Vedic literature, Kathopanishad, in the sense of quality. Now, they can't get this. He just can't, he cannot understand this at all. And then I said, so who's God? He said, well, God created everything. I said, but didn't we create anything? Yes, it's all one. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, and I just like, I said, all right, I said, all the best with your philosophy and life. It completely doesn't make any sense at all. But you won't accept, and you won't, it doesn't seem like we can discuss it because he's like, well, we're discussing. I'm like, it's not discussable. It's like, how can this plane turn into a cruise ship? It's like, how can this happen? It's complete, total speculation. Why is this so hard for you to understand? And he still wouldn't get it. And the thing is, listen, right? He's a guy who's got a business. He's not some moron, drug addict on the street. But ultimately, if you look at his life, what his bottom line philosophy is, if we change our attitude, we can enjoy in this world. That's the bottom line. That's the conclusion of all this nonsense philosophy, is ultimately we're in this world to enjoy. And this is also interesting because when I went to the West Coast this time, I was visiting some Hindu temple, one Hindu temple specifically in the Bay Area, to look at some fiberglass work that one of the vendors we are considering did over there to see and get some feedback on that. Oh, no, this was not in San Francisco. So then I visited a temple in Pittsburgh, and I don't want to say the name. He's a famous guy. And over there's a picture of the Guru. Initially, there's many photos of him. So one photo of him is like very austere in a hut. His hut is really small, and the hut is so small that even the door is small, so he has to like bend down and go. They have photos of all of this, and it's like he's in Himalayas, austere, and this and that. And then a few photos later, he's playing pool. And then he's playing tennis. And this and that. And it's all considered one. It's one. Everything is one. And this guy is a lot before the modern famous fellow who does these things, who's very popular in the West also now. His name is some kind of guru. And I just realized, actually, Vivekananda, he started this or predominant, maybe, I think that this misconceptions have existed from before. But it's interesting how these people take Shankara's Mayavad philosophy, but the way they bring out the enjoyment tendency in it is really unprecedented, because the traditional followers of Shankaracharya, they would not play pool. They would not play, the sannyasi would never play pool. He would never play tennis. Absolutely not. Because according to them, even when you come to the world, like Prabhupada would criticize the Mayavadis, sannyasis, that because everything is one and this and that, finally when they actually want to do some activity, they come down to the platform of doing social service. And then they open hospitals and schools and things like that. And the idea is because the strict Shankarites, they have this idea that even if you engage in the activities of this world, you should only engage in activities that belong to Sattva Gun. But these neo-Mayavadis, these fellows, they will do any damn thing and say it's all one. Like, it's so bad. And therefore, the modern guru is, whatever he had them driving, I don't know what that thing is called. You got a big, like, motorbike kind of moped kind of thing. It's got 4 wheels and it goes around in the snow. And then the similar thing happens in dirt, and it's called ATV, yeah, something like that. You can see him doing that and flying a plane, and all kinds of anything that a person in this world would dream of doing. Like materialists, they dream of doing these things. They dream of going on luxurious cruise ships. They dream of jumping off a plane. What is that thing called? Something, skydiving. Yeah. You jump off. He's done all of that. And what's the idea? That he's realized in the Brahman platform, where he's understood that everything is one, and therefore he can enjoy everything. And he's unaffected by it. No, this is really their philosophy. This is why it's so appealing to the conditioned souls. It's so attractive because, and this is why Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada explained how that this Mayavad is the last snare of Maya for the living entity. Because the living entity, after become frustrated in trying to enjoy material enjoyments, now concocts a philosophy whereby he himself becomes God. And that is exactly, ultimately, with all their mental, it was so like it. I had to chant a few rounds, and it was like so like depressing to speak with him. I was like, this philosophy is so depressing. But according to him, it's very nice, because you become the enjoyer, and you don't really like this world. We've created it, and it's actually meant for our enjoyment. And when we understand how to observe this world, and it was weird because I was trying to tell him, so who created the laws of nature? We created the laws of nature. I said, but then why can't we change the laws of nature when we want to? He didn't really have any explanation for this. And he was like, well, if you observe it and you work according to it, then it's meant for our enjoyment. I said, but why is the law of nature existing? You see, it's existing for our enjoyment. I'm like, oh God. It's like, you keep going in circles when you try to argue with them. And, but basically, this is why you see that Srila Prabhupada is so, repeatedly, purport after purport, he's explaining this very, very important concept to us, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the creator of everything. We are his parts and parcels. Material and spiritual energy are emanations from him, and they are all meant, including us, we are all meant to give pleasure to him. We are meant for his service. And when we miss this point, the conditioned living entity goes up to the extent of developing a philosophy whereby the conditioned entity thinks himself to be Krishna and thinks that everything is actually his emanation. And I mean, it's crazy, but that's where the philosophy leads to. It's a very, very dangerous philosophy. And therefore they can understand. Because here, for instance, in this verse, if you take it from a Mayavad perspective, Krishna is saying, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before creation, when nothing was there except myself. And that which you see now is also I. So what you see right now is also me. And after annihilation, I only exist. So what the Mayavadis see? Ultimately, before was Brahman, now is Brahman, after is Brahman. And that now is Brahman is where they get, see, everything is actually one. It's all one. It's all, we're all Brahman, everything is Brahman. There's nothing but Brahman, and that's what the Shankarites say. What is that? Brahman Satyam Jagat Mithya. That Brahman is real and Jagat, world is false. Anything that you are thinking that is other than Brahman is false. Now that is true if you understand that everything is emanations of Krishna's energy. That if we think that anything is separated from Krishna or not under Krishna's control, then we are in Maya. But it doesn't mean that everything is one in the fully absolute sense. And the reason why this philosophy gets so much mention, not just by Srila Prabhupada, by all the predecessor acharyas, is because ultimately it boils down, as you can see in the lives of these neo-Mayavadis, it boils down to the idea that we're here to enjoy this world. Enjoy it in a nice way, but we're here to enjoy. And that's the whole point. Be nice, enjoy, understand everything is one, and enjoy the world. Meditate and all that, so that you learn how to enjoy, how to facilitate this enjoyment. Then everybody can enjoy. And we're all one. We can all enjoy. And the philosophy, it sounds so nice. It sounds so wonderful. And that's why they do all this. And it was really sad for me to see that people can't see. They have literally open display of photos. This guy in a hut and then playing pool. You don't see the problem there? Like something's wrong? No, they don't. They don't see a problem in thinking that the plane can turn into a cruise ship. It gets really unreasonable and it's very dangerous, because what happens is they go into this whole mental trip whereby they get, but it's ultimately, and then he started, this is another thing he said. He said, well, ultimately, whether it's a cruise ship or whether it's a plane, it's all atoms and protons. I'm like, dude, but the atoms and protons have been assembled in a certain way. It's like, why can't you get this? But the thing is, that's what happens with word jugglery. Is it just, they go on and it's so much in their head. And which is why the mundane wranglers, as Srila Prabhupada, translated that word. These mental speculators, mundane wranglers, there's so much mental speculation. Because why? They're already convinced that this world is meant for their enjoyment. Now they need to skew up every meaning they can, interpret it this way or that way to somehow come to that conclusion. And this is why the Vaishnava acharyas are so much upset, or like we could say, they are against, they vehemently oppose the Mayavadis, because the Mayavadis, they come with a conception, this is how it is. And then you apply that, you try to apply that everywhere. Now, of course, this guy, he doesn't know anything about Shruti. Therefore his arguments aren't very sophisticated. It's a little silly, quantum mechanics, and come on, It's like, even the quantum physicists don't understand quantum mechanics. But Shankara's philosophy, on the other hand, is very sophisticated. Very sophisticated, and therefore the Shariraka Bhashya is prohibited for Vaishnavas to read. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that Mayavada Bhashya Sunile Hoi Sarvanash, that if one hears the philosophy of the Mayavadis, one's mind becomes bewildered. And that's what happens. Their mind is bewildered. You hear their philosophy, our mind becomes bewildered if we don't know how to piece it out, And especially Shankara, he's empowered by Krishna to propound this philosophy. Why? Because Kali Yuga has to progress. And now you can see how it progresses because of Shankara's philosophy. In that temple that I was there was a mantra that they have. And again, it's a concocted parampara because the Shankarites don't accept this. But their concoction is the verse. And it sounds very nice. The Sanskrit is very nice, Sadashivarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmad Guru Pariyantam Vande Guru Paramparam. And the reason I knew about this verse is because I learned it when I was a kid, And then I looked, I was like, oh my God, that verse, it was like, and then I kind of understood it because now with Prabhupada's mercy, his purports, by understanding, we kind of get this idea. So the idea is like beginning from Sadashiva, which is, according to them, Shiva himself, with Shankaracharya in the middle, and my Guru right now, my Guru as my preceptor, or my immediate spiritual master, I offer my obeisances to the Guru Parampara. But it's very interesting because, according to Shankara, he's a disciple of Vyasa. And who is Vyasa? Vyasa is Krishna himself, is Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa, and Vyasa's Guru is Narada Muni. Narada Muni's Guru is Brahma. And Brahma he's been instructed by Vishnu himself. This is what the Shankaras also accept as their parampara. But these fellows, they quote Adi Shankara. There's no clear lineage. But you don't need, because their philosophy it's a big hodgepodge. They draw some imaginary line and call themselves as followers of Shankara. But the point is, you just see how Shankara is so influential. And we're thinking, okay, we're in the West, but this so-called Guru is influencing so many people in the West today. And he claims his lineage to Shankara. So us talking about all these things are very, very relevant, actually. It might feel like it's all, oh my God, again, we know that we're different from Krishna. No, it's not. It's actually, it's a very, actually, we would not be enjoyers of this world if we actually understood that Krishna was the enjoyer. We wouldn't be conditioned souls. And therefore, this Mayavad philosophy, it goes and attacks that, when one becomes infected with Mayavad, the disease is from the very root. The disease goes to the very root of material existence. So, the Bhaktivedanta purports, they're focused on attacking this as in line with all the previous acharyas, because then when the misconception is uprooted from the root, then all the other exhibitions of enviousness of Krishna will not exist, will cease to exist. So, I'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada, he basically only commented on this one point. Another interesting point in the verse itself is that the Supreme Self is symptomized by different names. Now, Srila Prabhupada uses the word name in the translation, but if you look at the verse itself, it's upalakshanaha, symptoms. So, why does Srila Prabhupada translate that as name? Well, Supreme Personality of Godhead's names are descriptions of His different qualities, which are different symptoms of Him. So, Krishna means He's all attractive. Rama means one who gives all pleasure. And so that's a symptom of God. One who gives all pleasure is a symptom of God. One who is all attractive is a symptom of God. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada uses that word name. But Prabhupada didn't comment on it on the purport, so I just wanted to briefly mention that. Any questions or comments, please?
Hare Krishna, thank you for the enjoyable class. So, we have to basically cut through their false ego and because they get enjoyment from bewildering. They're demons. They're demons. They're living demons in a human body, basically. They take birth here from their planets to exploit the material energy. And when Krishna appears, the demigods descend and the demons take birth. So they're just, and we as devotees, we come in contact with them all the time because that's how the polarity works. Like we're serving Krishna, and then they are here to exploit Krishna, and then we confront them all the time. So the only prescription is to just cut them.
Yeah, I mean, best medicine for such a person. He likes the prasadam at the Hare Krishna temple. Right? Can you please eat as much as you can whenever you go? It's very good for you. Please take prasadam. I didn't have anything prasadam to offer him. He knows the mantra, he knows everything. He has all the books at home. But
yeah, chant, like chant in their ears so that the holy name will like kill their demoniac propensity. It's good that you criticize their gurus because their gurus are all demons, basically. Like Swami Narayan.
He doesn't have, this particular person doesn't really have a guru. He's just, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual kind of guy. But yeah, it's true. It's the thing.
They take birth just to give us problems. So we have to understand that.
Sure. Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. Like you said that at the end you gave up, means you chanted some rounds and you like feeling disgusted. I had this experience. I met one impersonalist in India. He was just a watchman in my company, and but when they were speaking, they started speaking on length, and I was feeling as if they're hypnotizing or some reaction was happening to me, and I was feeling.
It's quite powerful, Prabhu. It's quite powerful.
So, like, how do they get this? Means because
it's potency of Maya, really. Because later I was thinking, I was like, man, one thing I should have asked him, because he was like, there's no suffering in this world. That was his conclusion, and there's so many other things that he was saying, and I was trying to tell him, like, there's suffering in this world. Like, it's like, but he couldn't get it. But then I was later thinking I should have brought up some examples of animals, or children. And then it would have been harder for him to argue. But basically, the amazing thing is, you see, we are trying to talk to them on a logical platform. Yeah. They don't feel like they have to speak on that logical platform. And to us, we expect thought process to run in a certain way. And it's quite amazing when you see a guy who's otherwise he's very reasonable, intelligent person, like he knows how to function in this world. But then when it comes to this, it's just like, it's like something happens there, which is like their brain doesn't seem to function. And when we see that, it's quite bewildering. It's like, how is this possible? But that's Maya. I mean, what else is Maya? We see Maya is like, if you look at Maya, Maya is making the donkey feel pleasure when he gets kicked by the she-donkey as he is approaching for sex. But this is not pleasurable. I mean, it's not pleasurable. The whole material existence actually is not pleasurable, but we feel it as pleasurable. And when we are in the moment, we are really convinced that it's pleasurable. So this amazing Shakti of Krishna, illusory potency, cannot be underestimated. And the only reason I was chanting was just because I was understanding this Mayavad philosophy is a very, very strong thing. It's a very dangerous thing. Like when our acharyas, it's not a joke. And especially that Shariraka Bhashya. Sometimes we think, what's the deal? Let me see, what are they saying? Sometimes we also get curious. What is the Mayavad? What is their actual philosophy? But it's actually quite bewildering. It's like, so what else we can say? It's Maya's potency. Therefore, I just praying to Krishna for shelter that, somehow got out of the conversation, keeping my head sane. He didn't change at all.
Yeah.
So when you talk to someone, it's like this, plane will turn into a cruise ship and you're talking to a sane person. It's like, who's insane? You're insane? I'm insane.
Yeah, it's dangerous to deal with them. Sometimes, I dealt with two people like that in my life, and I felt like I gave up the conversation, like,
Well,
because we get
therefore,
into-
Madhyamadhikari is recommended. What is that? How does it begin? The verse? Madhyamadhikari? Adineshu, balisheshu, dishatshu cha. Ishwaretad adineshu, balisheshu, dishatshu cha. Prema maitri kripapeksha, yah karoti sa madhyama. So, Ishwaretad adineshu, balisheshu, dishatshu cha. So, those that are against, envious, we avoid them. Yeah. I mean, we can try, but sometimes we are not as powerful, It's also there. But then, so we also have to understand the limits of our ability to dispense mercy. Yes.
Prabhu, I had somewhat of a similar question. I was at the airport yesterday, and I approached this fellow, and he immediately knew who I was and what I was doing. And he says, no, you Hare Krishnas think that the sun is closer to the moon than the earth. And I was like, what? I was like, okay, sir. He didn't give me any time of day. And I was thinking, like, why is it that people get caught up on these trivial things? And how even those who are under the shelter of, Srila Prabhupada had left his guidance just, due to foolishness. It puzzled me for some time when I was out there. I was like, these people are so nuts.
Yeah. It's a tough thing because we do as living entities expect to understand everything, It's like almost we have that, we want to understand. We want to know why did we fall down from the spiritual or did we not fall down from the spiritual? I need to know this now. And Prabhupada makes the point, it's irrelevant. You're in the spirit, you're in the material world right now. You need to get out of it. You get out of it, you figure it out. But no, it's like we have this disease. I must understand. Again, it comes from the same misconception that if Krishna does not want us to understand something, we are not going to be able to understand it. And that's a difficult pill to swallow as a conditioned living entity. Is it not? It's a difficult pill to swallow. Oh, well, I guess. And we can see that in our material existence also, right? So sometimes it's hard for us to come to terms with what we're capable of doing and what we're not capable of doing. We have desires to be something. But maturity in Krishna consciousness also means to know what one is capable of doing, what one's not capable of doing. That's a hard one, is it not? Many times we have to suffer a lot before we come to that conclusion, So we have that, that aham mameti bhav. So, what to do? Take shelter of Krishna, take shelter of Prabhupada. Prabhupada, please smash me so that I can come to the right conclusion. But hopefully I don't get smashed too much, get smashed to a tolerable level, and I learn my lesson. Hare Krishna. And I have to give it's one from the Mataji, sorry. We have to, it's the marathon, otherwise I wouldn't end. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu. Oh. Thank you so much. So one of the 10 offenses is instructing a faithless person on the glories of chanting the holy name. So I see it in my life a lot where, we want to share, you're in bhakti bliss and you're like, I want everyone to experience this. Like, I want to give it to you and you and you. But at what point in a conversation do you realize like, oh, this person may be bent and in their own way and I may be committing offenses by explaining too much, but they ask questions. Like they're waiting. How do you know? How do you know? I don't know.
Many times you get that, right? From the born-again Christians. They sound very interested, very eager. And then after some time, you start, then that crazy face comes up on the face. It's like, it's that. It's like, oh my God, it's like, oh God, I got to get out of this one, So the tipping point is when they start to turn envious, or when you realize that there is a danger of becoming envious. So like this person also, although I was disagreeing with him, and first off, I wasn't preaching any glories directly of the holy name, but in any case, I didn't want to leave him with an impression that we're some jerks or something, So I was being respectful to him, but I also respectfully disagreed with him. And we ended up the conversation saying, well, it was nice talking to you. And that was the end of it. Although I was left with a really bad taste in my mouth. It's our duty to try as best as possible to leave people with a good impression. And sometimes it's not possible. If they're very envious, then you just pray to Krishna. But the point is, you realize you're crossing the boundary when they're starting to get agitated. And they're starting to get and then it's not good. It's not worth. Of course, sometimes we do need to agitate people. Sometimes there's a requirement. But that's if there is some hope that the person wants to learn something. Some people just come and they don't want to learn anything from you, they just want to talk to you. It's not worth the time. At that time, if you have prasadam, give them prasadam. If they're willing to take a book, that's the best thing. Giving them Srila Prabhupada's books, that's the best thing. Sometimes devotees just make them chant their name. Or they say their name is Gauranga or whatever. Say, chant my name, and that's it. Okay. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyascha.